if you become a U.S. citizen, you automatically lose your citizenship to that country. And there are other countries like that. So I hope I haven't confused the issue, but dual citizenship is something that we could talk about later in more depth. But when you have your oath of allegiance to your indigenous country, that's international. That's oath of allegiance. Okay, all right. I don't want to belittle the point, but I just, to me, this is so powerful when you have this in your possession. And our sisters and brothers, and I talk about our sisters and brothers because we all know people that are not here. We all know people say, I'm sovereign. We all know people saying many other things. We are here in the nation, both Muskogee and Washita, to tell you that this says who you are. And without your oath of allegiance to a government that can have a relationship with corporate America, the rest is history. Thank you.
We want to keep the information going with the Washita as the indigenous nation. We want to bring the chief back from the Yamazi so he can give you a little bit more insight on the heritage of the Yamazi nation. So, Chief, you come back, give a round of applause for the chief. Yeah.
I'd like to thank everyone again for inviting us out. It's definitely a beautiful occasion for the Yamasee Muskogee people to be here involved, and welcome with open arms to our family of Washita. It's a beautiful situation. A lot of things, a lot of points my father and elder, Hakeem, and mother Fayola have made very tangible and real when it comes to the Yamasee Muskogee people and the Washita and what we're trying to do as a unified front and family. And most of that is getting us to understand what it is to be a part of a nation, because we all have had experiences, like was said earlier, about being a part of the U.S. government. And the thing is, it is much easier and very easy for us to walk by ourselves and try to fight a good fight, as he said earlier. But we see where that got us. Okay, we're very aware of what has been going on. But it's a different thing when you have a nation, a central government, speaking on behalf of you. Now, what happens as an indigenous nation, as a true indigenous people, Native Americans, American Indian is some terminology that the federal government like to use. When you have an indigenous nation acting on behalf of you, speaking for you, it says you're no longer one voice. You have a unified front. When he was talking about the oath that you're taking to your nation, that oath says that you have an allegiance to your government, who you recognize as either it be the Washita, the Empress, or the tribal council members, actually, the tribal council, which is your central government, and in our case, the same thing as the Yamasee Muskogee Nation. The brother asked a question, and I think I can add on to what you were saying when it comes to if you hold a membership to another organization. Certain organizations have, within their rules and guidelines, outlines of how you should proceed when leaving their nation, or you decide no longer to be a member of that nation. And it will be determined based on that particular organization that said individual joined. So if you are part of another indigenous nation or tribe, you would have to go to that tribe and see what their policies and procedures are in handling your basically expatriating from that nation. And like he said, most of it is all universal as Native Americans, customs and traditions. But what we are trying to get away from in the Yamasee Muskogee Nation and the Washita is the title of a particular clan, a particular name. What we have found out, all of us historically, is we're all the same people. We're all the same people, all the bloodlines. Some of us have a little bit more pure African in us. Some of us have more direct descendants to Africa. And some of us never had it. The thing that I ask a lot of people is, name one African ancestor. I'm not talking about someone changed their name. Name somebody in your family that your grandmother said, oh, well, Uncle so-and-so is from Africa. But I bet you most of us all have a story about grandma saying, oh, well, you know, great-grandmama so-and-so was Cherokee. Great-grandmama so-and-so was Blackfoot. Uncle so-and-so looked just like the Sioux. You get? So we have to start recognizing who we truly are and not just talking it. We have to be this. We have to respect our ancestors. That's what Mother was saying earlier. We have to start taking on the thing that we was raised, respecting the elders. Not only the elders that are living right now, the elders who gave their lives for you to even make that claim. It's a fact. If you are here, somebody had to fight and give their lives. Somebody struggled and gave up something for you to exist. We have to honor and respect our ancestors for this to go forth. We have to get outside of this game of UCC and commerce and all these things that we're caught up in, because the more you speak their language, the more you get caught up in that web. It's no longer about commerce no more. Everything we need is right here in this room. We can build houses, we can have babies, we can garden, we can farm. If we come together as people, the outside world may call us nation, call ourselves family. But we have to come together. I only can do so much, but we can do everything. That's what we're looking for. And we have to start paying attention to the earth, our mother. Things are happening and changing, everyone. We see this. There's been more catastrophes in the last 3 years than at any point in time in history on this planet, literally. What's going to happen when we're focusing on what I can do for myself and my family versus focusing on what we need to do if an emergency happened and we have a central location we can come together and unite and support our families, because that's what it's going to be about, sustaining life. So even when it comes to the Yamasee Muskogee people, that was our fight, our plight, and if you go back to our great ancestor and chief, Sanuti, right before the War of 1715, when he sat down with the paleface, as your grandmother used to call him, as my great-grandmother called him, paleface, he kept saying that you are going to take our land eventually so that our children don't even have more than the turkey has. You're going to make us lose our identity. It happened. It happened. The only way we maintained, and it goes back to what the mother was saying, was through the women in our family. The women were so wise and so smart as Muskogee, Washita bloodline that they started saying, oh, well, the Cherokee have a good agreement with the white man. When it came to that Indian nation, well, what are you? Cherokee, and they signed their names on those rolls. What are you? Choctaw, and they signed their names on these rolls. And they kept the history, which became a mystery to them, in private books, journals, and oral history. We have to start recognizing we as the indigenous people of this land have to unite. That is the central part of our government. These are the conversations we have all the time. We are here as a family. The Washita Muskogee people are the same people. We are all mound builders, correct? Yes. So let's not get into titles. Let's look at what we did. We created the greatest things ever to exist on this side of the planet. They're still trying to figure out how we did it. We got many names, the Mississippians, the Alabamians, all these different things. But the key was, how did these people do it? Well, we know, because we sit back and seen Big Mama, how she brought the family together throughout the years. We sat here and watched our families come together and celebrate and talked about tribal issues. You was in a powwow and didn't even know it, because we all came together and you had your family reunions. We talked about what happened with brother so-and-so in South Carolina, what happened with sister so-and-so in Georgia, how we gonna handle it, or what that child needs to do to get and feel better. Give her a little this to do this, and tell him he needs to talk to Big Mama because I got some things because he ain't acting right. What do you think that was? See, we forgot who we were. And we're so into now trying to sound smart and deep that we're forgetting the core principles of who we are. Why we are in disagreement with some of the worldviews and the TV shows and the rap stations and things like that. Some of us became something we never were. We're getting away from the core principles of what gave us life and whom gave us life. We're now becoming of the world. We cannot become of the world. We have to show the world that we are children of this planet. That's what our grandmoms was telling us. Her knees went to hurting babies from the rain. We have to get back to these type things. And it starts today. This is the greatest union ever. This has been centuries in the making. It's been attempted several times. But we have done it. We will not turn our back on the Washita. And they know, I say this all the time, I'm a soldier. I go to war for my family. Like most of my brothers in here. We will go to war for our family. So it's time for us to go to war, but for the right reasons. All they want to see is we have our thing together and are unified enough to create something productive and not just be virtual nations anymore. We no longer can be virtual nations. We no longer talk about what I'm going to get out of this. How can it benefit me? I just want to drive free. That's our whole goal. Our whole goal is everyone to be free. But what type of freedom? Not have to clock into a job, not have to worry about Johnny Law Officer, not have to worry about how the U.S. government laws affect you. Well, we can do that. But we have to have our things together. We have to have representation that works in behalf of us and speak for us. And we have to show them we have elders that create the core of our wisdom. And we have to be, as brothers, come together and say, we're the warriors. We'll set these things in play for our elders, for our mothers, for our children. All a government is family creating rules and regulations for the future generations to live by. So we have to go into it thinking that way. We have to get out this religious state of mind and just get back into your bloodline. You can choose to worship however you want, but culturally, through your blood, you are Native American. That's what we're all sitting here for. So whether you call it the Great Spirit, whether you call money your God, respect the bloodline within you that your ancestors have given up and many have died for as you watch these movies that show the lynchings and the hanging and the false information of African slavery and things of that nature. Respect that blood that's within you that makes the warrior come out of you now that you have been rebellious to a system and don't know why, to find yourself in this arena right now. You refuse to be called African American, which basically is slave. You know that there's something great in you because of the women that have been in your lives. I have a great woman in my life, the grand matriarch of our tribe, my mother. I have the support of my mother, and I don't see that a lot of times with a lot of men. So I'm very proud to have this woman in my life guiding me and helping me. I have another mother, Fayola, that's also blood related to me through the Wilsons, because we're the Wrights, Wilsons, Browns. It's a long lineage. But long story short, we have to start being what we claim to be. Walk it, talk it, feel it, know it, and then pass it on to our babies so they can get an early start at where we wish we were at in our lives when we was younger. And stop being scared to carry that title, Native American. I thank you all for letting me come back up here and make some things clear, and I love you all, and I look forward to the rest of the conference. Thank you, Mother, so much. Thank you, Father, for allowing me to come.